Welcome, everyone. Happy Sunday to you. I hope you had a brilliant and relaxing weekend. I hope there was a lot of rest in your day, both emotional and physical, that you were able to take a break from those things that stress us out during the week. I think Sunday, for many of us, needs to be a day of reset. Now, you may choose for Saturday to be your day of reset. Perhaps you are one of these very Euro neat people that takes the day off in the middle of the week, and that is your reset week because you are hustling and you're working throughout the weekend. I think a lot of us find our schedules needing to fit, well, our schedules. And yet, are you like me where the world tugs at you? That a lot of people need you. For many of you, you are a mother, a spouse, or a partner. You are an employee. You are a boss. You are a sibling. You are a daughter. You are a son, right? We often find ourselves in a place of creating an identity or creating we often say we are wearing different hats, right? Well, I need to show up with, what hat are you showing up with? Well, on this Sunday, after our first week of 28 days of health, I want to ask you, when you show up, are you showing up for yourself, right? Because many of us throughout this last week had wins and losses. What I mean by that is I asked you, more importantly, you asked you to do something new, to challenge yourself with a new task, a new lifestyle movement, a new routine, right? Maybe it was a sleep routine, as a mindfulness routine, a healthier eating routine, or adding in just one thing that you were going to do to change the trajectory of your health. My question for you is, did you show up for yourself? Did you show up for yourself, or did you allow yourself to get pulled in multiple places? Did someone tug at you from here? Was someone grabbing you from up here? Have you had any moments this week where you sat in bed and you say, I know what I'm supposed to do, right? But I don't want to do it. And you even told yourself, if you do it, you're going to feel better. You always do. When you show up for yourself, you always feel better. Now, let's just take a minute. Did that happen to you this week? Did you complete all of your tasks? Did you stay disciplined? Did you stay routine? Did you maintain your momentum? There's a good chance you didn't, and that's okay. That is more than okay. First and foremost, what I want you to know is that you get to be you. You get to be your authentic self. So first lesson, when you show up for yourself, show up as your authentic self, the you in you. No one does you like you. Just do you, okay? That's lesson one for, we can call it Soulful Sunday, Sincerity Sunday, whatever you want to call today. I want to make sure that when you go to bed tonight, you give yourself the latitude and the space to say, I went for something, and even if I didn't do it every day, I did it more than what I was doing the week before I started my challenge. And so, good. Give yourself a pat on the back, right? Because what you did is, in fact, show up for yourself. And I bring it up the way I did for this reason. Some of you may be beating yourself up if you didn't do everything that you were supposed to do. Some of you may be beating yourself up because you maybe didn't have the willpower. You think it's a lack of commitment, right? But life got in the way. You found yourself saying, oh, it's just this one time, or I'm going to do a little bit better later. And then maybe what happened was You did say, you know what, I'm going to call it a day for today, and I am going to do better tomorrow. And then that day you didn't do it either, right? The reason why I wanted to ask if you showed up for yourself is first off to remind you that simply making the decision to do this is showing up for yourself, right? It is an outward projection of saying, I'm going to do something for myself. The second thing I want to pay attention to is the importance of not beating yourself up for things that you didn't do, especially when you can go back and count the number of times you did do something. Let me just put some framework about this. Many of us have stopped eating certain foods because we want to lose weight. Maybe we've stopped drinking alcohol because we're not doing that again, right? Because we've woken up feeling like just junk the next morning, maybe because we had too much alcohol. And we say, I'm never going to drink like that again. Maybe you don't say you're never going to drink again, but you say, I'm never going to drink like that again. Or maybe you just go so far off the rails in your eating program that you really don't feel that great the next day. And you beat yourself up a little bit, not just because you're physically uncomfortable, but because you, what? You failed, right? And what I think ends up happening is this like indiscretion, right? This missed space of like doing what we said we were going to do. Like, how long does it take that, how long did that, 2 hours of drinking, let's just say, right? You wake up the next day. How long did you beat yourself up about that? How long did you beat yourself up? How many days? The last time something like that happened, whether it was alcohol, whether it was food, whether it was an argument with someone, how long did you let yourself like be rained on with ugly words from yourself? Right? Because I'm guessing it was 2 times as long as what it took to make that mistake, right? 8 times as long. Did 2 hours turn into 2 weeks for you, where you beat yourself up for a mistake that you made? Or could you not roll the clock back? Because guess what? That happened, right? But could you step back from it and say, but look at every other day that I did nail it, that I did have that checklist, and I marked the things off of that checklist, right? Don't allow something that didn't happen today to affect what's going to happen over the next 2 weeks, because you're going to beat yourself up about it. I often talk about this when it comes to dietary changes. Someone will just have the wrong meal. They'll have alcohol at dinner. They will order dessert, and they'll come in and they'll confess to me, and they'll say, oh, I just had a really bad week. And I'm thinking, okay, let's talk about the bad week, right? And it turns out that they went off their diet at dinner one night, or someone had a birthday party, or they haven't yet figured out how to be social and eat that way, or they haven't figured out yet how to manage their kids' time, their partner's time, and their fitness time, right? So there was one of those days where they didn't work out, or there was something like that. And I go, well, let's just do some math here. And it's amazing how much math can help you, right? Because how many meals do you have a day? Just make it easy on me. It's 3 meals a day. It's 7 days a week. That's 21 meals in a week, right? And you screwed up one of them? You nailed it 20 other times. You nailed it 20 other times. And yet so many people find themselves beating themselves up, going off their diet for the next 2 weeks, going off their diet, maybe never getting back on their diet, right? Because they messed it up that one time. Maybe you didn't exercise as many times as you said you were going to. Did you exercise more than you did the week before? Is there something that you can write down on your personal I did it inventory sheet? Is there a box you can check that previously you weren't checking, that you weren't doing? And I'm going to tell you, if you go in right now and you don't feel like there was a box you could check, the fact that you even set out to do this means you are moving in the right direction. The fact that you will be introspective enough to say, okay, I am going to take that personal inventory. I am going to stop beating myself up if I didn't nail it this week, right? The fact that you're willing to say, I think I'm going to keep going, that means you're exactly where you're supposed to be, right? Because sometimes falling off the wagon, and in that case, I'm just talking about falling off the routine, right? Going off the rails, I could have said. That is a moment in time that gets to, offer some clarity to us. How did we feel about that? How did we feel about not completing it? How did we feel about what we perceive to be a mistake? Which is really just a point in our week that anchored in just how important this was to us. And how maybe not important it was. Maybe it just blew right past you and you didn't even notice it, right? Maybe you've been enjoying like logging in each night, but haven't yet made that decision. What it means is that you haven't found that thing that you want to be passionate about yet. You haven't found, some people call it a pain point, where you haven't figured out what you want to change, right? I want you to think about not the things that you have to change, but is there something that you do? If it's not about finding that change in you, is there something that you do that you think you could share with another person? Could you influence another person's decision towards health? Could you be that inspiration to another individual where they say, I want to do that? Let me just bring you back for a minute and just try to put some flavor around this. Someone is dreaming about your life. While we spend time reaching for the stars, while we spend time hoping that things will get better, and that this will improve, or I won't have debt anymore, or those sorts of things, I want to remind you that someone out there, their dream is the life that you are living. And that's a powerful place to sit. Not over that person, but to recognize the things that you do have in your life and how you could share healthy words, not just with yourself, but with those around you, and the big impact that that makes. You know, over this week, you've heard me say, if you see someone without a smile, give them yours. Totally stole that from Dolly Parton. Totally stole that from Dolly Parton, right? These are powerful things to do, right? The importance of understanding that you're living somebody else's dream, and so that you have spaces in your day of gratitude, right? The time that you spend with yourself, whether it's in 10 mindful minutes a day, whether it's this 20, 30 minutes that you spend with me each night, I want to remind you, this is a block of time in your day, but the rest of your day is so many more minutes, right? And so what I want us to do is to show up for ourselves, whether it's in these 20 minutes, 10 minutes that you give yourself for mindfulness, right? Creating some kind of ceremony in the morning for you, something that is your me time, your self-care time, right? And then see if you can throughout the day, because that block of time is so much bigger, right? Practice an understanding that you're living somebody else's dream. And that doesn't mean that you need to stop. It just means that you're going to take a breath that says, okay, so I've got some things to be grateful for. Then I want you to consider how you spend that day interacting with other people, right? So this next week, last week I asked you to hydrate more. I asked you to take a no alcohol challenge. I told you to take an inventory of the amount of caffeine or coffee that you drink. And now as we go into ideas of like, is fit movement is so meaningful, are you doing it? This week, as we go through our topics together, I want you to consider, is there something I can share with another individual? So, are you sharing what we're doing here in 28 days of health? Are you taking your posts and are you putting them in your own social media and tagging 28 days of health? This week, I want you to show up for yourself. I want you to be your authentic self. I want you to share something that you have learned, even if you felt defeated, right? Whether it is now I feel more anchored in doing it and trying again. Whether it is sharing with them that we should not beat ourselves up when we do not complete all of our tasks, but we should count the things that we did complete. Even if that list needs to start but and ends, and again it's ... because you're going to get to add to it. Even if that list is simply comprised of, I set out this week to do something to change the trajectory of my health. And then you're going to share that vision, that idea, that concept with someone else. You know, if we're in a position of well-being, it is within it, I want to inspire it to be within us to reach down and help those that are struggling. I want to end tonight with this. If you see something, and if you want to do something, let's start that way. If you want to do something and it feels beyond your ability, look to someone else that has achieved it. And if you still look at them and think it is beyond my ability, know that because it was within theirs, it is within your compass. It is within your space. Your body, your mind, your spirit is capable of so much. So while it may not be within you today, if you can see it in another person, it means it is within your compass. I want to thank you for spending time with me today. Inspire someone this week with decisions that you make to change your health. Share 28 days of health with them. Be kind to yourself. If this last week you didn't achieve everything you wanted to achieve, please be kind to yourself. Use positive words with yourself. Be your authentic self. Forgive yourself. And I will see you here tomorrow for our 28 days of health. I can't wait to spend the next week with you. Until I get to see you again, go be healthy, go be brilliant.